All right.
Let's just watch the intro anyway. Alrighty, here we go. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 802, Fallout's real horror. Not the other horror, the real horror of Fallout. That's a bit subjective, I'm sorry, but we'll have to find out what this guy's trying to talk about. Anyway, this video came out in June of this year, has about 11,000 views, has a nice 621 to 375 upvote, downvote ratio. He's got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections time indexed of this roughly 12-minute video. I'm not going to like this. I'm a fan of Fallout, not a fan of the TV show, and already when he says, wow, this is a video about Fallout, I like the show and I like the games, so I made a video about it. I talk about stuff. It's like, oh, are you really a fan of Fallout if you like the TV show? Maybe, maybe you turn your brain off and just watch it and go, look, Vault Tech outfit. Look, the Vault Tech boy. Oh, look.
Dog meat.
They called the dog meat out of nowhere in the 6th episode because they wanted to.
It's truly amazing. I met like my normie friends last week and we talked about this show because we were arguing like which one has worse products, Netflix or Amazon Prime, and they were giving an argument that Amazon Prime is much better because they have the Fallout TV show, and I asked them like, what was the most memorable thing about it? And then they said the power armor looked really nice.
Really?
Wow. So if I want to watch a power armor, I can just play the Fallout game.
I always thought not every scene, but in certain states of animation, they were over animating the power armor. Like you could tell, because they were mapping it to someone's body as opposed to mapping it to a skeleton like they would with an actual rig, where you would have an exoskeleton that would be solid from, I guess, the chest up or the waist up, and then everything would follow that like a robot. Instead, it's like it's moving like he's a transformer, and it doesn't look right. There's something too much. There's too much articulation going on. I didn't like that. It was very distracting.
I never figured out like what is actually practical and what is the animation, because the first scene when the 5 power armors appear in the first episode, supposedly that is all practical when they are walking towards the base, but that I noticed that it's just moves really weird. Like it doesn't move like in the video games.
Yeah, I know.
Like it has a certain way.
Yeah, and they started showcasing like, well, there's a groin plate, there's a chest plate, there's all these removable parts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess.
The helmet being removable the same way as Tony Stark's helmet, that kind of bothered me.
I did not like a lot of the things. I like I mean, if you play the original games, even the box art of Fallout 1 and 2, they show the helmet. It's all just like a bunch of pieces smashed together. It's like, okay, yeah, that's first gen or whatever, or scrapped together first gen armor. But when you get to the Brotherhood, it's all like, this is how we make it. This is the standard way. And then there's like the Enclave, which is even more perfected, which we haven't seen yet. So I want a little bit of grime. I want a little bit of like old tech, but space age exoskeleton stuff. And we get they just dropped the ball on the lore, on the plot, how the ghoul just knows things suddenly, how the armor works, whereas he didn't before. It's just these silly little things that keep popping up to make the armor oh god, and of course episode 8, god, that just annoyed the crap out of me. So there was so many things that just, like, all you have to do is make the armor look cool. It doesn't have to do anything. The flying part annoyed the shit out of me in the second episode. I was like, what is going on? And then
I never figured out like how did that fly.
And now the whole comedic element of one of the neck braces suddenly change his sense of balance, so he flies like a cartoon villain. This was silly. It was so dumb. So I don't mind comedy. I don't mind having CGI. That's fine. It's when you do things that aren't supposed to be there or feel off. That's what I don't like. And I always am confused by when Tim Kaine said, oh, it's a great show. It got all the spirit of Fallout. It's like, it might have gotten the spirit of Fallout and the sounds and the vibe of it, But anytime there was a character moment or things that the plot just threw at you, and you're just like, wait a second, how did this guy get here? How did they? Who cleaned up?
I love how Tim Kaine and Chris Avalon just
Complete
like
opposites.
the two opposites. Yeah, like Chris really didn't like the show. Like he was trying to sugarcoat it at first, like
Yeah.
in his blog post, but the more details he went in with the lore itself, and like how did they get the message of Fallout? Like he was really pissed off when they were trying to point at capitalism as being the bad guy
Yeah.
in the Fallout universe.
I would recommend everyone check out Chris Avalon's Medium post on the I can't pronounce Mortem on Fallout
Yeah.
show. He gave it a 6 out of 4 if you're just not thinking about it and just you don't know anything about the lore. And I think he gave it a 4 out of 10 if you're actually paying attention, because he made a really good point about because he was talking about special as well as the trait system. So he's assuming everyone has the traits or the perks in Fallout. So he's like, wait a second, if the ghoul has the Chem Fiend perk, that means chems wouldn't affect him as much, but he needs a chemical to remain a ghoul, and that seems to affect him. And it's just
Doesn't make any sense.
yeah. There's
all played for comedy.
yeah. There's too much going on that does not equate. And if you're going to start adding the lore to make sense of things, why do the new ghouls that are created from a inhaler from some sort of jar heal wounds, heal entire organs, but Mr. Ghoul with his cut off finger can't? Is it because he's an old ghoul? Did he lose this? Like there's so many things that are contradicting themselves that we sit there and go, wait a second, did I just see that in episode 2? What? And then they did some nice things with Lucy, and then there's some stupid things with Lucy. Like we saw in episode 7 was her finger. Like she has that messed up finger on her right hand because she got it cut off. Great piece of lore. But all of a sudden in episode 7, she lost the shoulder plate that she picked up in episode 4. Like it just disappears.
It completely disappears. Like after episode 5, I think.
It's when she gets into I think it's 5 or 6 when she gets into the new Vault 2 or Vault 4 or whatever it was.
Vault 4, yeah.
She just wakes up and there's Maximus on the table, and it's like in the previous scene on the end of the last episode, she had the leather shoulder guard, and then the next scene is gone, and it's gone forever. You never see it again. You're like, what happened? Sorry.
Yeah.
Then it comes back, and she's walking outside with Maximus again, and then it just keeps reappearing. I'm getting pissed off with this show. There's so much shit that just my brain is like, wait a second, what's going on? How did this happen? Yeah. Anyway.
We're gonna see it in the director's cut of Fallout.
Even the gun in the second episode kept reappearing and disappearing on his back and being used in the foreground, and kept loading it, and then he just forgets about it, and it's on his back again. You're like, the little things that annoy the crap out of you.
It can only be used when the director wants it. You know, like he's not gonna use the tricks that he explains in episode 8 because he forgot about how to hit the rod of steel armor in the middle.
Yeah, I thought they would have had like gunsmithing, because there was those two guys that were collecting pieces of lead.
At least, yeah.
I'm assuming they're gunsmiths. And then we have like a talk about a gun made out of teeth. We have episode 8, the ghoul has that the gun looks like an arrowhead or something, and he's like loading his gun. It's like, oh, it's a different kind of ammunition. That would make sense. But he never talks about the ammunition. He talks about the weakness of the plate armor on the power armor. And I'm just like, why didn't you talk about that in episode 2? Like, what? There's all this stuff that annoys me that could have been great new lore, and it wouldn't have hurt anyone. It wouldn't have been offensive. It'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe in this world they've got a weakness in the plate of.
No, they went for the big guns. Like, we have to explain every single thing that is in the background.
Yeah, it's kind of like the episode 9 of Star Wars. Everything's just smashed together really quickly at just at the start of episode 8, where there's like, we have no more room this season. We got to slam everything and everyone as fast as possible. Here we go. and they didn't think about continuity or lore or consistency or anything. Just, oh, here's a new thing. Oh, here's a guy with power armor just falling through the scene with no head, no blood. He's just there. Oh, here's Maximus. Hey, Maximus, what are you doing? How'd you get up here? Oh, who knows? We got to keep going. The dad's there. Free the dad. Why? No, stunned Lucy. Doesn't say anything. Like, just keep going. Just keep going with it. The whole scene is a mess. And people love it because so many reveals and twists were happening. And I was sitting there going, oh my God. Anyway, let us get into this gentleman's
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, let's see what he has to say.
Is the saddest film I've ever watched, and I didn't cry once. It's one of those movies that you can't rate, you know what I mean? You see a movie that's so perfect that it feels unfair to even rate it 5
That's a weird thing. This is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten, but I didn't feel anything from it. You know, this is the happiest moment of my life, but I'm not smiling. You know, it's just like, what? Okay, I guess depression hits you differently. I don't know.
same level as like what most people rate Dune 2, the movie that's the equivalent to getting sand stuck in your sandwich. The very first scene of the Fallout show is not a crazy epic.
Did he say Dune 2, the second part of the recent Dune movies?
Yes.
He didn't like it?
I guess he didn't like it.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but I'm assuming it's a little different.
See, if you only want to have a continuation of the previous, like new Dune adaptation, then it's gonna be a fine movie. If you approach it from, if it's accurate to the book, then it's a catastrophe. Kind of like what we talked about, like with Chris Avalon's, like different like rating if you care about the lore.
Yeah.
It's a dumb fun,
showing how serious and gritty the wasteland is, or a giant exposition dump. It shows a child's birthday party, but from the weird cowboy guy's perspective. You know, the washed-up actor you hire to be at your kid's cowboy-themed birthday party because you live in the American utopia of Los Angeles, and you trust celebrities around your children. But this cowboy is the only actor that's not on the island list. He actually has a child of his own. The show tries to capture the feeling of the Red Scare of the 50s, and the nuclear scare of the Cold War.
The specter of nuclear war facing this nation.
The TV's talking about how there are bombs and stuff, and then...
Is he, like, unaware of Fallout lore, or he's just talking about, like, from a layman's perspective who doesn't know anything about Fallout, and he's just saying, like, McCarthyism...
This is exactly like the kind of... a summary you would make up Fallout if this is the first time you see Fallout.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought this guy knows his lore. So I'm like, all right, this is odd.
And guess what happens? I think there might be a nuke. My bad.
Very interesting.
What are we doing?
So he's doing a montage.
Let me just skip that. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what Fallout is supposed to enable. This idea of everyone's gone and dead, and it's a brave new world.
Oh, so he changed the title, I guess, because it wasn't a popular title.
Yeah, the thumbnail was not very, or maybe the YouTube video title was not SEO compliant enough. He's like, oh, it's too complicated. I gotta get it simple. I don't know. I do not know how these people operate. They have different titles for everything. Okay.
The wasteland is quiet, but
It took you 10 seconds to tell us. Okay, whatever.
But full of sounds.
What are you? Stop it! Stop.
I found the perfect video for you, Smud.
This is gonna drive me up a wall. The wasteland is X, but it's actually the opposite. It's like, what? No, stop.
This almost feels like a nature documentary, except it's Most retarded one.
The desert is dry, but it's actually really wet. You're like, what do you fucking... All right.
I don't like
Like
salmon.
maybe an animal moving around, a ruined car quietly creaking.
A ruined car quietly... What the...
Look, it's Veronica.
It's a noise.
And Eddie.
This inanimate object is making noise. Like, what?
That car was manufactured centuries ago, and yet it remains a reminder of a fallen civilization. A civilization only preserved in giant underground bunkers. Well, let's take a look at that civilization through the fallout shelters. For a vault dweller, the vaults are perfect places.
No.
No, they aren't.
No.
Well, the amount of dangers that they have to face, even if it's just a peaceful control vault,
Yeah.
is
Even...
beyond.
Yeah, I remember...
I think.
if you remember episode 8, how House says even if they're just rats in a cage, they're going to eat themselves. And that's with the idea of nothing is different. Like, there's no social experiment. There's no physical loss of resources. It's just people in a cage.
Nothing they believe is challenged. The overseer takes care of everything, and they pretty much live in a Disney Channel movie.
You're watching Disney Channel.
Except for the horrible experiments being done on them. But, I mean, other than that, it's not any different than the pre-war time. Like vaults are meant to be. It's
There were no horrible experiments pre-wartime. What are you talking about?
Maybe he believes that capitalism is a horrible experiment.
Is he referring to like the radiation tests and all the things that they've adapted fusion into their lives and they used it for more than just energy, like with food and drink? Like that could be maybe horrifying. But no, there was no implied experiments that I can think of. Jeez. Maybe during the war they were experimenting, but not before.
a capsule of time. But that time fucking sucked. I mean, there are propaganda posters everywhere. Everyone is educated the same way. You can't really choose who you want to be.
Wait. Are we talking about the vaults? Or are we talking about pre-war? If we're talking about pre-war,
I think like pre-war, because like his sentence wouldn't make any sense otherwise.
yeah, pre-war, everyone was like on the cusp of a war. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, are we gonna blow up?" Like that was the whole thing.
Because there was an active war.
Yeah, and then there were all these resource war. Like the resource wars started, and with China, and like there was a lot going on. It wasn't all paradise, but in general, what they showed in the flashbacks, at least with Cooper, was pretty fantastic. Like he was living in California. He was a movie star. He had all this money. He had a beautiful house, idealistic living. No, I mean it wasn't perfect for him, but it was still pretty amazing.
Fucking sucked. I mean, there are propaganda posters everywhere. Everyone is educated the same way. You can't really choose who you want to be. There's a harsh social system.
Well, Vault 15 seemingly was able to be what they wanted to be, because part of them created Shady Sands with Eridash and his ancestors, I believe. And then the Khans, the Vipers, and all these other gangs also merged out from that vault.
I'm assuming he's talking about the Vault Dwellers.
But they were Vault Dwellers. Like, Vault 15 is where the people from Shady Sands, the Great Khans, the Khans and the Vipers and all those other gangs around California came out from. But he's not gonna discuss that because he has.
Is he making the argument for the Vault Dwellers? Because he just went from pre-war to now talking about the Vault because everyone's taught in the same classrooms. Yeah. I'm like, wait, are we jumping again? Like, what is?
It skipped over. Like he's thinks that all those posters that he sees in the vaults are the ones that the people saw on the streets before the bombs fell.
Very odd, sir. I want you to start a new paragraph, and I want you to put ... like this, the 3 stars, so you're changing your entire ideas. Hey, start a chapter. Just end the whole book chapter there and start a new chapter, and then start talking about how people are educated in the vaults, because I'm confused.
Maybe he's gonna go back and talk about some nature stuff, like about the New Vegas environment.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And if you don't adhere to that purpose, you're a traitor. It's almost as bad as suburban Texas. So in Fallout 3, one of the first things you meet in the Capital Wasteland after leaving a vault is a robot that just spouts propaganda, talking about how great the Enclave is.
Price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
And wait a minute, that's like the posters in the vault. In New Vegas, there are posters everywhere about how amazing the NCR is, and in the vaults, you see more propaganda posters. The Fallout thing is that they say,
Say the line, Bart!
War. War never changes.
and you know, the idea is that the fighting never stops. That as long as there are humans, there will be conflict, and as long as there's conflict, there will be shitty stuff happening.
Should we wash our hands?
You know,
What?
war. I think that there's a little bit more to it, though.
Is this like made by an 8-year-old? Like, what is happening here? Is he just?
Is this made by an AI?
It feels like if an AI threw a bunch of crap together and you had the word war. So here's a picture of war, but I don't want war. I want like fun, cool sound effects war. Like do 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 do.
Yes, only like what is this? Mario Kart? It is Mario Kart music.
I'm playing Battlefield, but give me the Mario Kart soundtrack, please. All right.
Is about. Okay, so I'm going to do this awesome thing where I interject and don't actually get to the point because I want to talk about an art film real quick. So here's
Fuck
that.
you.
The Last Picture Show is about culture in the 1950s. So it's like really sad and fucked up.
That's great, but are you implying that there were some sexual deviance in this paradise-like world of the 2100s of the Fallout universe pre-war? Sure,
Well,
possibly.
the Fallout TV show definitely has plenty of those.
Yeah, but this is like, what's the point? Like, are we now going to talk about people having sex lives in this world? Like, okay, is that necessary? Are you implying, like, what's the point? This is trying to connect the dots between a movie he really liked that made him sad, but he wasn't crying about it, and the state of affairs of pre-war Fallout universe. Like, okay, like, fine.
We would have the same conclusion if instead of the Last Picture Show, he would have picked Tommy Wiseau's The Room.
Oh, well, that's a series of different feelings as opposed to trying to perceive the.
But there's anguish.
There is anguish.
Sadness.
There's confusion.
Anger. A lot of happy moments, and a lot of destruction as well.
A lot of unnecessary sex scenes as well. That's a good
Yes,
comparison.
it definitely has sex.
If he's
And
gonna
betrayal.
if he's gonna start using that, then great. Because last I remember, there was literally no sexual depictions aside from like there's a brothel, there's a whore, there's a semi-nude woman dancing, and they were in the adult casino world. Like there's no like, oh, this is how we do sex, this is how we do that. There's crude jokes about it, like with Fisto and someone's fetish, this and that, but there's no, like, you get no sense of individuality of like lifestyle. It's just whatever you got, that's what you like. Whatever, I got the rest of these quests to go by. and there's a laser gun store right next to you. So I got to go. Like it's not really a part of the story very much, or the setting. Like it's just there. Like a cactus might be there. Like that's weird. What's a cactus doing there? Huh?
Like, there are so many animals in the Fallout. It's just like he's picking one. Like cherry picked this so out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't get it. Maybe he just likes the old movie a lot, and he's trying to connect the dots for no reason. I don't know.
He thinks the 50s was this.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Society in the last picture show is horrifying, like the wasteland in Fallout. Like the
How can you even compare those two things? Like, one has been wiped out from the face of the earth, and there's just like some remnants left of humanity, while the other is just, I can't have sex because of society norms.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all my relatives that had, like, I went to a few funerals this month, and there was like these old pictures of family members, like, oh wow, that's got to be from the 40s or 50s. Like, yeah, like they're happy, they're driving Studebakers, life was a lot simpler then.
Gas was cheap, so was food.
It was.
You could buy a house.
You could actually buy stuff. It's amazing. You have a future to look forward to.
You can't live off your whole life by working the same job.
Yeah, women were actually.
What about that?
Understandable. You could approach them and talk to them and have conversations, and they wouldn't weird you out. Like, whoa. Yeah. Every time period has its own morals and ethics and reasons for being, the same as the size of this guy's glass of beer. So I wouldn't say that's bad. I'm just saying that was the time. That's the time they were in, and there was nothing wrong with that. And I would never use our own morals or ethics to compare, or sense of fashion or money or income to that and go, they've got it worse. It's like, well, they've got it simpler, let's just say.
In Fallout. This is all over the show. Look at the arranged marriages in Vault 33, or the way that Cooper's friend...
How else are they gonna reproduce when you only have like 100 or so people in there? Like arranged marriages. Because the show was so dumb, they decided to go with what Bethesda has for the vaults.
Yeah.
They barely have enough people to keep up the generation.
They could have done many, many other things, and I don't know why they segregated 3 vaults that were interconnected. Like, what was the point of that?
It's well, for the episode 8 revealed that it was only to breed super managers, but that is so dumb.
There's plenty of ways to do that don't involve segregating vaults. Like, you could have kept it a secret and had the other 2 vaults intersect. You could have opened it all up and say, hey guys, we're here. We're going to be super managers. Let's manage. Let's figure this out together and have group discussions about how the best, there's so many ways to do this, but they just went, well, we'll just segregate them. And, we'll have was it not a lottery, but every 30 years or 10 years? I don't remember the time frame where they do their exchange. And you're like, okay, well, a party, have a wedding, and keep the bloodlines going. You're like, sure, why not? One way to do it. It's boring. It's nothing special. As a social experiment, there's nothing there. It's just, here's some resources. Here's a man. Here's a woman. So,
yeah.
Nothing cool. Nothing that really not even coming close to the wackiness of Fallout. So,
how about planting a cornfield in a bunker? That is like how many?
Yeah.
How far below is a vault in the Fallout?
Yeah. Ever tried growing corn indoors, guys? It doesn't work very well, even when you have spotlights. Yeah.
Like agricultural vault, like that is madness.
They use the same, and they use the same set 3 times, in case you haven't noticed, for the other vaults as well as the observatory.
Yes, it's the exact same one.
Hey, we got a bunch of cornfields. Let's use it again and again and again.
Being a commie. like in the last picture show, there is a locking down societally of who you're meant to be with.
Is this like a common thing with like these leftists? But I don't want to go that far, but it's something that Maggie Mae Fish does as well. That she brings in another media that has nothing to do with the first media itself, but there seems to be some kind of ungodly connections between these two.
Well, at
That
least
cannot be explained.
at least he's trying to get the time frame of something he knows about, which happened in the 50s for him,
Yeah,
and related.
it's beyond like a green door. Yeah.
Oh God, that. Yeah, no, that's not going to help. At least he got something relevant, like semi-relevant, because the 50s had McCarthyism and this and that, and then, okay, in the world of Fallout pre-war, they had McCarthyism and this and that. You're like, all right, yeah, there's some connection, but it's nothing really to base the entire comparison on. Like, get one element you liked and say why it's relevant, and then just keep going, because you don't need to do that. You don't need to go, it made me so sad, and I'm like, oh, okay, why? Because everything felt dead and blah blah blah. You're like, okay, great, and then you relate that to post-apocalyptic scenarios. Great, stop there. Go with the connection. Don't go back to it and try to draw more connections. Just keep going. I don't like this. I saw the thing 20 years ago when I was this years old, and let me tell you a story. It's like, no, I don't want to hear your story. Just give me the connection. Show me the relevance. Give me the meaning, and then pass it on to me in a simple way that I can grasp what you're getting at. Because if not, you're just telling me another story of superfluous information.
I'm laughing in the background at what Hawk World. The Smudcast 800 was so good, we decided to never to release.
Oh boy, we'll get there eventually, guys. This entire month has been busy for a lot of people. So anyway, we're halfway done, and I'm lost as to what this guy's trying to tell me.
Just everything. So I thought it was kind of weird how the show wanted us to sympathize with Lucy's cousin that she gave the Alabama special to. But let's look at it in the way that we looked at the last picture show. He's doing something that, is kind of weird by being attached to Lucy. And
That's not...
Liking a girl is weird?
He is so fixated on this goddamn sex thing. It's not the point of the show. I can't believe I'm actually defending Amazon's Fallout show.
Yeah, this is
This is the first 10 minutes of the TV show.
Yeah, because they're cousins and he likes her. It's not the worst thing in the world, but she's saying, well, we need to do this for genetic reasons, which, you can make some arguments for that, but that's fine. This is a normal setup. You have to show some conflict. You got to show why she's doing it, so you have an alternative, right? So you go, she could always stop and go back to this guy or whatever. So we have the idea of a second option. We have the idea of another world or another life, and we always choose the worst one, or the one that allows the plot to move forward. The same way with Maximus, it happens in all the plots. They always choose the worst case or the more conflicting case, as opposed to, why don't I just do this? Why don't I just turn my Pip-Boy on and figure out everyone's a raider because they're all irradiated? Why didn't we do that? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. So they have to manufacture conflict without using the lore properly to set it up and go, oh, this could have been a moral choice. This could have been a personal choice. This could have been all these things that would cause and make sense for Lucy to do what she's doing, aside from, well, the other girl thinks she's hot or thinks the guy's hot, therefore it's okay. That was the only reason I saw. And Lucy was like, okay, I'll do it. And her friend Stephanie was like, oh, you're lucky. You're like, that's it? That's the whole reasoning? Anyway.
so he's going against society. So he's punished for that.
No, he's
that's
not.
why we're meant to sympathize with him.
He's not punished. Lucy just says no. I don't want...
It was all Lucy's decision. And it's kind of funny that, they could get away with this shit. Because everyone was hearing this. And they were like, oh, okay. Let them fuck each other for 10 years. that is saying more about the rise of the show than about the so-called precious plot of this show. Like, imagine that you're the guy that is selected to write a TV show centered around Fallout, and like this is how you introduce the main character. That like, well, yeah, I was having sex with my cousin for 10 years, but I have to stop it because I have to breed.
Yeah, well.
There's so many things you could do with Fallout, and this is the first thing you do.
Yeah, it's all violence, sex, and well, gun.
Well, I can't wait for seeing his cock explode in real time.
Yeah, and they make this joke that nowadays he's hooking up with Stephanie, and
real
she's getting lots of sex because she puts the ice pack on her genitals, and you're like, okay, this is weird. He's also the baby daddy suddenly because she needs a partner to help her out. Like, okay, this is all happens like off, like you just understand it off screen that this is now a thing. And like he didn't get separated from her when they did the apparently random selection to go to Vault 32.
Yeah.
So like there's all this like, okay, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, but Steph is like a secret 31 member.
Right.
So
she
also
knows
like the manager.
She knows what's going on exactly, but she's not telling anyone. So I never understood why that's an issue. Like why not just say, hey, we got all this genetic material and these are the managers, this is the plan. Like there's nothing inherently evil about this plan. It's just, look, we preserve people from hundreds of years ago. This is who they are. I'm one of them. We want to continue this philosophy of whatever that Bud thought of. I don't even remember what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, great, cool. Like that's like, who cares? Like, what do you do? We're all in the vault together. We have to wait till the surface is safe. So who gives a shit, right? It's like, okay, it doesn't change my lifestyle. It's like saying, hey, I want to form a social group in another 500 years or so. It's like, okay, good for you. I'll be dead by then, but I mean, maybe one of our children might join it. Who cares? Like it makes there's no consequences. It's like, who cares? It's not like we're going to turn you all into rats in like 20 years. It's like, what? How does that make sense? Like, how are you going to, like, there's no mad experiment, like scientific cloning bullshit. It's just, they're cryogenically frozen. We're slowly bringing them out to keep the gene pool alive. That's it. Not because of their genes, but because they're part of the Bud's Bud, and they're all just friends, and they work together. That's it. It's nothing special. So I don't know.
And these people didn't even do like anything special, because even the Hank was supposedly doing Cooper's wife's dry cleaning at the time.
Yeah, he was just a guy. There's nothing.
He was just an assistant.
There's nothing uniquely evil, good. Like there's nothing about this group that requires 3 vaults. Like there's nothing. It could have just been 1 vault, and everyone and the overseer is like, okay, I'm the direct descendant of Bud, and we got the rest of the guys, and they're frozen, and we'll slowly bring them out every whatever. Maybe we'll put them back on ice just to get their genes. Like it doesn't, like there's so many things they could have done to make this thing make more sense or been more sophisticated or I don't know, nefarious. Like when you see Bud in the brain jar on the little what the hell was, I don't even know what that thing was. It wasn't a robo brain. It was
that was not a robo brain. That was just like
a Roomba. I don't know.
Those little sweepers.
Yeah, the Roombas
nowadays. Yeah, the Roomba.
Vacuum cleaner. I was like, what is this thing? Okay, fine. You're in this thing. What's the plan, Bud? What are you doing? You're in this jar for however long to do what exactly? To oversee your vault that you can't even walk up steps? Like, what is the point? Like, what are you doing? It was a joke. I'm convinced this was all just a setup to be funny. And that's it. They're not going to use this setup anymore. They're not going to use the Buds to do anything else. It was just, hey, we have this cool actor in Lucy's dad. Let's use him for 1 episode and then one at the end. And that was it. And he went from really cool, friendly dad to really evil, unknown fellow. And And he jumps off the window and with power armor off to the sunset. You're like, what? What was that about? Maybe we'll never see him again, like all the other characters that left the show.
Oh, you know what? I can imagine that like he's not gonna become any special character. He's just gonna get killed off screen.
Like Thaddeus. We'll never see him again. We'll never see the radio guy again. There's no reason to. We'll never see that crazy witch doctor dude. With like, there's no need.
They definitely bring back the witch doctor because like he looked like a recurring character, but like in the stupidest way possible.
Yeah, like the store owner's gone, and her friend, whatever she lived with. Like there's just there's no need.
I haven't watched Westworld, but like supposedly Jonathan Nolan directed that, or was a showrunner there too.
Oh, really?
And supposedly the first season was okay, and then the continuing seasons were just total garbage.
Yeah.
So what I'm expecting is this is exactly what's gonna happen with Fallout.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I was thinking of like Voyager, where there's really good episodes that are science fiction. There's really bad episodes which are just stupid. Just absolute nonsense.
Most of it is bad. Yes.
I watched an episode. I don't remember. It was really good. I was like, wow, this is like watching or reading an old science fiction short story, and I don't remember it. Like they find Amelia Earhart in cryo, like, and a bunch of other humans. I was like, oh my god, this feels like I'm reading a serialized science fiction short story in like a newspaper or something. And the great conflict was, are we going to stay? Because they had a 3 cities of 100,000 people of humans. And I was like, that's the conflict? It just popped up in the last 20 minutes. Everything else was just like, well, how'd they get here? Who's doing what? Who are the aliens? Da-da-da. Nope, no conflict. Just, are we going to stay on Voyager or leave?
Yeah.
That was it. Simple story. Anyway.
I was saying, incest, like, rocks, though. Dude, I mean, seriously. Okay, so, in the show, there's this pregnant lady. And...
So what was that about? Like he completely dropped that stupid topic altogether.
Yeah, is that like, were they second or third cousin? I don't even know what the level of familiarity was with the family tree. I don't know what stage.
Let's say that it's first cousin.
Oh, really? First cousins?
Yes.
You might get retardation. You might. I think it's like it increases as you go, but it's nothing. It's not the end of the world. It's not like you're going to destroy everyone. People think that it's inbreeding is like going to retard people like instantly. It's like, no, let's give it a few generations maybe, and the alleles are all the same. But there's plenty of randomization in meiosis that you don't have to worry about it.
That's the professional opinion of Dr. Stefan.
It's been a while since I've done my genetics in university, but it's like it's not a big deal. It's really not that huge a problem. So it was actually, they did tests in Italy and other parts of the world. And there was greater genetic diversity in like northern parts of Italy than there were in like Canada and United States. And I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah, I was like, how the hell did this happen? Like, of smaller villages. I was like, that's crazy. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I know it's not that big a deal. So for the show to go that route, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, if they want to espouse that, because we're talking about people from the 50s or that mentality where genetics was not that big a deal or knowledgeable enough. Because in the 60s, that's when we got the DNA molecule and all the joys that go with the double helix. So it's like, fine, all right, good enough. But I don't need Fallout to be super scientific. Like, that's not a problem for me.
Oh, well, I don't think like the showrunners were trying at all. But they confuse cold fusion and the kind of fusion that Fallout has. That was killing me.
I could not. I sat there like cold. Like, who cares? They already had fusion. Like, what's the big deal? It's unlimited. It's like, so fusion by itself is not unlimited. Like, what's happening? And that would be a perfect idea to expand upon why normal fusion, which they already had, wasn't. And you could go into bureaucracy. You can go into logistics. You can go into rationing. You can go into, well, we have a turn-off system. fueling for fusion. Like you have to use a certain kind of deuterium. Like, where do you get that? It's very expensive. But like all kinds of great explanations why their version of fusion wasn't perfect, and somehow cold fusion is. Like I wanted that answer. I really did. Maybe fusion was just a namesake. It wasn't actual. It was just I don't know, better batteries, so things lasted a bit longer. But it's still traditional coal burning or whatever. That would have been a funny thing to reveal. That would have been a horrible idea, but it's still, it would make.
Well, the funny thing that they're gonna do is they're gonna drop this cold fusion thing entirely. They're not gonna care about it. It's just gonna become light bulb.
The thing is,
we can turn it on.
The thing is that it ends with they're looking toward New Vegas, and the whole point of New Vegas was the Hoover Dam, which is going to provide electricity. So it's like,
yeah,
if you already have electricity, what do you need Hoover Dam for? What's the point of that? What new conflict? Like, they have to invent more conflict that doesn't need to exist. So Hoover Dam is pointless. The Strip is pointless. Are they just going to have like a Securitron war? Like what? I don't know.
There were some destroyed Securitrons in the end credits.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's the, after the episode, there's this animated cutscene that is just like towards the ending credits. Like, it is the part of the ending credits, but you see that it's zooming out from New Vegas, and on the streets you can see some destroyed Securitrons.
Okay, cool.
But it's only the silhouettes of those, so you can't really make out like what happened.
Yeah. Oh well. All right, we are more than halfway done. 7 minutes.
In the first, her husband dies, and so she's all sad and stuff. Then, a few episodes later, she makes Lucy's cousin look like him, like her husband. It's really messed up. She makes him like dress up in his old clothes.
That's like this one time when I did.
Wow, depression can do weird things to people.
Has it ever occurred to him?
Grievances.
Yeah, that she's acting because she wants to be Bud's bud person who's successful at raising a family, and she's there's a new surrogate right there.
Yes.
It's like, there's lots of ways.
A good thing, this person is related to Hank, who's also one of 31's.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's all good.
So I ground his parents up into chili and fed it to him.
But I think
How's
it's because
that
she's
related?
kind of fed up with what this whole society thing has done. Like,
why?
She.
How do you know that? She seems pretty much in on it. She wanted to kill all the raiders. She knew she was very jealous. Not jealous, but she was like, "Oh wow, Lucy, you're getting a really hot guy." She lied about, or she used the same line the dad used about talking to his son about what's the difference. It's like, I think something was cleaner, or the food tasted better, like something simple like that. Same line that he heard. So it's all, she's keeping her job and doing the role she's assigned. What is she fed up about aside from losing her husband? I'm not following the logic here.
Was a Vault-Tec employee. She was one of the people in the cryogenic tube thingies that we see near the end of the show. And she's lived through the original 50s weird society, and now she does it again. There's no difference, and she's repaid by having her family killed. So she's kind of doing like a Roberta Puppington routine. Alright, so I think that one of the things that makes Fallout so enthralling is the pre-war world. Most of what you do in the Fallout games is just collecting shit, right? So you get acquainted with these brains, like, really quickly. Everything paints this image of a fallen society. A pretty cool one.
How is it a fallen society? What are you talking about? Because there's products? You know how big I don't know if you've ever seen the lore or seen the list of lore of companies that either are officially in the Pip-Boy list, or it's just like people talk about it. Like whenever you go to a house and you give him the platinum chip, and he brings you to the basement, he starts talking about the Gatling laser, and this is the medium range weapon from this and this company, and this company made Robco made this, and H&H made that, and it's like, there's all these companies that did stuff. That's lore. That's normal. Like there's some companies that don't make sense, like Sugar Bombs. Like we don't know who made Sugar Bombs, but there's like Fancy Lads. They make the Fancy Lads snack cakes, and that's all you need to know. Like Nuka-Cola is a big thing, of course. We get sarsaparilla in New Vegas. It's like there's little bits of lore that are added as the games go on, and there's dozens and dozens of these companies. That's fine. That's neither good nor bad. That's just having world building.
Yeah, a lot of companies that were producing products, working society, that got destroyed by bombs.
Yeah, this is like saying, wow, we have all these store brand names that sell clothing and food and whatever. And you're like,
why there are so many of them?
That's how
Stop
branding.
this is nightmarish 50s world. Please, someone help me.
If I want to sell anything, I have to make a brand. I can't just sell wine out of my basement.
There's only Tesco.
The Tesco brand. Even Costco has to make another brand, which is like this umbrella name called Kirkland. It just does everything.
Yeah.
Like they have to do it because you have to make a name that sells a thing. It can't just be the Costco brand. So, yeah, not seeing a problem here, buddy.
I guess. Right? Like, you can go to the supermarket and buy a bunch of stuff, or you can go to the strip and gamble a bunch of money, or you can go somewhere else and spend money. It's amazing.
What?
What is
he?
Problem?
He doesn't like going shopping? Is he lazy? Like, what's the argument here? Options are bad?
Imagine the smell.
Can you imagine going to the supermarket and buying from one of 10 options of lettuce? It's like, oh my God, there's so many. What? Supermarkets are horrible. Like, what? I could gamble my money in the next store over. It's like, if you want. Gambling could be technically bad if you know the odds.
I don't see anything bad with the supermarket. Like today, I went to the supermarket and I bought myself steak. And then I fried it twice. And man, it was so delicious. I can't imagine my life if I couldn't go shopping.
Like, does he want less options at the super? Or does he want like corner stores that do like custom like delis? They do their own little thing because the big guy.
I really don't know.
Like, what's the argument?
He's got to say that capitalism is the problem.
How is consumerism bad? Like, I don't know about you, but shopping is generally a fun experience outside of crowds. So
yeah,
I don't know what the problem is.
I work and then I get money, so I can use money to get the thing that I want. What other? Is there a country in this world that doesn't work on this logic?
Yeah, it's kind of like saying money can't bring you happiness. I agree with that in general, but you still need it to bring about happiness. You can't, man cannot live on bread alone, but he still needs the bread. He has to eat. He has to do the thing that
money can't get you everything, but it sure can make you happy.
Yeah,
if you use it smartly.
It's a weird, like, this is. Does he not enjoy, like, if you don't enjoy buying things, you probably don't enjoy life. There's probably something going on in your life that you're depressed, or maybe you're poor and you can't buy things and you're jealous. And I don't know, you wanted that pair of sneakers your mom never bought you when you were a kid, and you never bothered to do that later in life. I don't know. This is a weird one. Yeah, not seeing a problem with consumerism at all.
You can probably tell what I'm going to say about this, since I'm a socialist, soy boy, cock effeminate, communist, small penis pronoun using groomer acceptance guy.
Oh, are you?
Well, that escalated quickly.
I didn't know that. Now I have to go check out your profile. I wasn't expecting that. Let's see. Not that I care. I'm just curious because now that he's saying it, I have to go officially check it out. All right. I make things. I make stories and stuff. I am an award-winning filmmaker. I try to upload as much as possible when I'm at my preferred amount of content. I'm uploading weekly on Thursday. I rarely am this efficient, though. No, I don't see. He has a TikTok. But
Oh, that's already bad.
that's about it. I'm not. I don't. There's nothing inherent about his politics. Maybe the videos. I don't know. I haven't seen anything else by this guy. I think we should do something about the bomb. What's his most popular video? 61,000 views. Mary Surratt, Please Don't Let Me Fall, a documentary from 2 years ago. Okay.
And video from 4 days ago. This guy is making all movies worse.
Who's that? We don't know. All right. Is he making a joke about making fun of people online that are socialists? And if he's one of them, then why are you doing that? I don't know. This is weird.
He has a live stream called Streaming from School because last day, almost. Is no way. He can't be a high schooler.
This is nice. Well, it would explain a lack of intelligence. So,
Well, yes, it would certainly do.
okay. Let's go with that.
What I'm gonna say is that they're like overly consumerist. That's right. You won my television show. You just won a Kohl's Cash wallet. With this wallet, you can spend up to 10,000 of your Kohl's bucks at any of our stores around the country. Consumerism. Why is it bad? Is it bad to be a consumer? Consumer. I hardly know her. Jesus. So it's consumerism is bad because there are things more valuable than like car.
Some people need a car to get around and do their job so they can live. Cars are like the most basic things that people need to do their job.
This is so fucking pathetic. He's not even trying anymore. But not like he did like in the rest of the video, but
I know family members who bought their first car when they were 15. They loved cars so much. They loved motors. They loved anything about going somewhere. They just wanted to go. Even had an uncle of mine saying, if you don't have a car, you're grounded because there's nowhere else to go. There's no bus.
well, especially in Canada. Like I can't imagine my life in Canada without a car.
If you go north of the GTA, there's no other there's no. How else are you gonna get around without a car?
You're dead.
You're either walking or you're hitchhiking. I don't know. So this is a weird flex, dude. And maybe he's never owned a car, or maybe he's never owned or had a job, or had to go somewhere on his own volition, like a job interview, or I don't know, a supermarket like place, because maybe he's never bought anything in a supermarket, so he wouldn't realize the value of a car, like to put your stuff in your car after you've bought it, as opposed to on the bus and you're like sitting on the bus with your giant school bag of food. I don't know. Oh, what can we deduce from this fellow and his understanding of consumerism, that cars are bad? I don't know.
They're really bad. You can buy them and waste money while you could have spent it on...
Maybe he's going to wait till like 2030 when all the cars in America are all electric and he's going to save the planet by buying an electric car. Maybe that's the mentality.
So the battery can blow up in his garage and burn away all his videos. The good ending.
I don't know. Anyway, I'll just keep going. Isn't this a picture of a couch? I don't understand why.
It is a couch, yeah, but it's a character from Cars.
Yeah. All right.
Disney.
Maybe that's the joke. I don't know. Anyway.
And Fallout is all about this. It's about how consumerism destroys itself. How
It's about basic resources that they need to run the country.
How is Fallout?
What is the resource that they are fighting over in Fallout?
The whole point of War Never Changes was that there's too many people and there's not enough resources. The resource was never specified. It was just there's too much demand, there's too much want, people want stuff, therefore we fight over stuff and we blow the world up as a result. That was the general idea of Fallout.
And who were fighting against who? The Americans against the communist Chinese.
That's the original story was that the Chinese launched the first weapon. That was the whole
Yes.
During the resource wars.
That is the lore.
Yeah.
We're not going to accept the TV show.
Yeah, the resource wars were a thing, and then it led to the world wars, and that's the Great War. That's what they referred to. So,
Yeah.
But to say that it led up to that, there's no, that's not even in the TV show. Like, what is he talking about? How are having companies that were competing for your dollar, how did that translate to the Great War? It doesn't make any sense. Especially the TV show.
How did a bunch of psychopaths decide the fate of the United States?
Yeah, that was...
That they're going to drop the bombs on themselves.
They were, supposedly, was it $400 billion per vault? They were debting the American government, like 50% of their debt was just to Vault Tech. And then Vault Tech decides to drop the bombs as opposed to the video game lore of there's just people were just fighting each other. That was just natural. And the resource wars were a thing. So resource wars from politics are not the same as supermarkets and competition in capitalism. Those are two very, very different things. So I want to know where he draws the connection between capitalism and, dozens and dozens of companies fighting for your dollar and Vault Tech blowing up the world. I want to know that because this makes no sense. And honestly, the TV show screwed up the entire story of the very existence of Fallout, of how it came about and why. So that's probably why I'm so depressed. Like, it's so stupid. It's just so inherently dumb. It makes no sense.
My brain is melting still.
Yeah, it's kind of worse than like how in Mass Effect you don't know why the Reapers are doing what they're doing, and then you find out they didn't like the color red, so they ate everyone. You're like, what? What do you mean they didn't like the color red? Well, the stars are red. They looked at the stars. They didn't like what the stars caused civilization, so they ate all the people. Like, what? What? That doesn't make any sense, though. Yeah, they didn't like it. That's a spectrum of light, though. Yeah, they didn't like stars. But no, I'm saying the color red. You told me the color red. Yeah, they don't like. Like, this is the stupidity of this logic, that you have this asinine reason for things to happen. So they like the color green. Okay, whatever.
Well, it's not this unwavering appetite of capitalism. Just
no one in starting a business goes, I love capitalism. I want to make my Southern Indian province to have more capitalism, so I'm going to sell X. That's not how this works. That's not how your life works. If I have a brilliant idea or an ambition to sell wine or make a thing and sell a service, I'm not going, yay, America. I'm going, yay, my thing, not me. I made this thing, or I'm giving you this thing for my time and resources, and you can give me money. I'm not going, oh, yay, corporate structure, yay, capital gains tax, or no, I don't care.
I can't pay more taxes so the government can launch the bombs and then kill ourselves.
Yeah, I can't wait to pay income tax on this great idea of starting a business. Like, no, that's dumb.
He should follow up that, like, well, we didn't know what the Enclave's tax policy is going to be.
If only they gave me 2%, I would have joined the Enclave. Oh, okay, fine.
Including the world. It doesn't do the dumb thing that They Live does, though, where it's like, all you need to do as a blue-collar worker is rise up and kill all the rich people.
Yeah, but they're aliens. They're literal aliens. Like that's the whole thing of the glasses. You could see the aliens. It's literally a conspiracy of aliens taking over the world. Oh my God! It's not that they're rich. Oh God.
I'm glad he didn't try to explain that movie.
Well,
that would have gone wrong.
He would have just used the clips of the greatest fight scene of all time, but
Yes.
he would have done that for no reason, and he would have shown how sad, how happy he was. I was happy with the fight scene, but I never smiled. It's like, okay, good for you. I can watch that over and over again. It's great. Guys, have not seen it, go to YouTube, check up They Live fight scene, and you'll see a familiar face there.
We see that rampant consumerism made people into monsters.
Are you, oh my God. How are you connecting They Live, which are aliens taking over human society, to rampant consumerism?
I'm glad he decided to go with this narrative instead of saying like, oh, it was God's chosen people. Oh, he didn't go that far.
What is where he thinks
Jesus.
he thinks
this guy's insane.
He thinks fallout occurred because we had Pepsi and Coke, guys. And then COTS, and then we had Dr. Pepper. Like, let's start a war with China because we have too many options here in America. Like, no. Ay.
Starting the Vault-Tec literally dropped the bombs in the name of short-term profit just to sell slots in the vaults.
No.
No, that's not.
Did you watch episode 8? They weren't selling slots. They were like, we have all of these vaults. We built hundreds of vaults. They had a big map. We want more money. You guys get to choose what to do with them. That's it. Sales were fine. That was the whole argument. Oh, sales are fine. They're not as up as they should be. It's like $400 billion of vaults is insane. I don't even know where they mentioned that, but that was the lore on the website. So I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy.
That is also disgusting. I think like we discussed this like a few days ago, but like, where do all this information with the Fallout wiki end up on?
Yeah.
Like, where is it from?
It's crazy. And episode 8 screwed up the lore because all was based off of, let's get a bunch of people in a room who are rich, and suddenly they just turn into psychopaths on a dime, and you're like, why is this happening? There's no explanation. There's no reason. Even House was like, well, you can make a lot of profit from the end of the world, or whatever he said. And you're like, no, you can't. The end of the world means the end of the world. There's nothing to make profit from. So everyone in that room suddenly lost their minds and became psychopathic. It wasn't because they were the heads of their company. It wasn't because they were there to have a meeting to discuss why they should give more money to Vault-Tec. They weren't like, oh, maybe if I owned another vault, I could make more money. It's like, well, no, they were given the incentive of having a fun time abusing people in the vault or doing whatever they wanted to these people in the vault, which is insane. So if you want to argue that capitalism leads to insanity, I could argue anything leads to insanity in any excess when you're allowed to be insane. But that was not an example of capitalism. That's an example of, I don't know, give me this and I'll give you that. That's about it. And it's a dumb, like, well, what if we like have them like kill each other and fight for, this or that's, like, or turn them into superhumans with immigrants. You're like, what the fuck? This is so stupid. Anyway.
It's never gonna end.
10 minutes, we're almost done.
Okay.
Like what oil companies are doing with global warming, or just like
Oil companies are doing with global warming. What does that even mean?
Oh my God, maybe he understood that the oil companies are riling up people to go into and support these phantasm of global warming.
How
You should stop.
How does being an upstream, like there's upstream, midstream, and downstream, how does being an upstream company, or maybe he refers to downstream as well, but who knows? How does drilling for oil cause climate change? What are you talking about?
Because you're drilling out the blood of the earth. The dinosaurs who died for our cause.
This is so stupid. How are you going to make your solar panels without like dozens of petrochemicals and other rare earth elements and metals, or whatever you want to, like on a wind farms, geothermal farm, other alternative forms of energy? How are you going to do that without existing forms of energy? Does anyone understand nature? How nature is always built upon itself? How we make tools based off the previous tools we've made? Like this is natural progression of technology. Oil is not a problem. Petrol is not this is the dumbest surface level fear-mongering nonsense. And I hope he's in grade school, because this is too childish for me.
industrial complex. But if you still don't believe me, let's take a look at what a
What should we believe? What are we talking about? What was your argument? What were you trying to tell us?
Maybe that was a different sentence, but he edited together the video and then it just
Are we
ended up at the very end of the video.
Are we arguing about climate change all of a sudden because of oil? Like, what happened? What was the point? What was the hypothesis? Buying stuff is bad? Like, what? I'm a bit lost here. Okay.
At its core, it's a role-playing game. Role-playing games are about building connections with characters and stories, right? It's not like the newest Ubisoft ass Creed, right? Where all you do is bring up stats and your reward is a weapon. The reward in a good role-playing game is uncovering new parts of this world and new parts of this story. Fallout games end by wrapping up the story and then not letting you play anymore. It doesn't have like New Game Plus where you can just keep grinding your stats. The last picture show takes place.
About?
I'm not understanding.
I can't follow anymore.
I seem to remember playing all the DLC in New Vegas, and you can keep playing. Like there's no.
Oh no! After you complete the mission, like the Hoover Dam one, the game is over.
Oh yeah, I get that, but like the idea is that the game is done, but we have all this DLC to make you keep playing, and then
yes, if you go back to the game, yes.
Yeah, like this is not a problem, and there's nothing wrong with an end state to a game, which is a linear single player game. So what does he expect? Like, does he want like a perpetual online like World of Warcraft? Like, what is he talking about? And don't we have Fallout 76 that is that exact thing? Like, what is this guy dumb? Like, is he just ignorant? Like, which one is it, dumb or ignorance? Like
I would say yes.
All of the above.
Okay. As Joel Haver puts it, it's the quiet sadness of life. And I think that Fallout, even with all its jingly-jangly spurs, captures a broken society perfectly.
It's
I wonder how broken it can be when it's just bombs that destroy little life, how we know it.
I see a
what a nice broken society this game is showing. How did they get there?
Yes, post-war, a society is broken. I agree.
He's gonna light his own house on fire. Then he's gonna be like, "Wow, I finally have this broken society in my home. It's no more."
It's
like you can walk through it. Now I can go on an adventure.
As you can see, this gigantic nuclear cloud has caused a broken society. It's like, yeah, that's a good
now
way.
I have stage 4 cancer.
Fallout is the best example of a broken society. It's like, sure, it's not the best I've ever seen, but it's pretty good. What's your point? Like, is this the whole argument that Fallout does post-apocalyptics very
this
good?
is so bad.
Is that the real horror of Fallout? Is it's a post-apocalyptic society? I'm like, yes, you're right. That is the horror that is real in Fallout.
Fallout is really about. That's why war never changes.
What? Let me rewind that.
Out, even with all its jingly jangly spurs, captures a broken society perfectly. That's what Fallout is really about. That's why war never changes.
So Fallout is about broken society. Well, a society that managed to make the Enclave, the leaders of this terrible, terrible version of the US, that managed to just like destroy themselves, according to the TV show.
Okay, because Fallout is the best example of a broken society. Therefore, or that is because war never changes. What do those two things have to like? Does one cause the other? Is this a perpetual cycle? Like, what are you talking about?
Because the society of Fallout was completely broken in every way.
If it was broken in every way, it'd be dead. There'd be nothing left. But there is something left. So no.
Like I don't want to go that far, but in Fallout 4, you can see like a little bit of like how society was before the bombs fell. It looked pretty all right, I would say.
Yeah,
like,
and
with all things considered.
And you have all kinds of settlements and cities and villages and whatever. So you could say, yeah, it's a broken world, but those societies and those groups of people, their organizations, the factions, they're not broken. They're their own groups, and they have their own culture, and they have their own practices, and they have their own attitudes and desires and goals. I wouldn't say they're whole, but I wouldn't say they're broken either. So I don't know what he's trying to say here.
All the apocalypse changed was aesthetics.
No. An apocalypse changed everything. People's lives were literally blown apart. People were mutated and became ghouls. Nature was mutated and became all kinds of different creatures.
Except in the TV show where chickens are still chickens and deers are still deers.
Yeah, they didn't
remember that.
They didn't bother to CGI the deer. That would have been so easy. Just put a second head on a deer, put a second head on a chicken. That's it. Done.
Yeah, none of that. It's just the regular chicken.
What happened to the Brahmin?
The Brahmin that was pissing me off. Like, but when Hawk saw the Brahmin, he was like, "Is this the what were we thinking? Like the Chinese Brahmin? Because that didn't look like a Brahmin.
Yeah.
That was just a poorly CG'd cow with two heads.
Yeah.
Like not a single scar on them."
All right. Less than 30 seconds, and we're pausing this like crazy. Just
every 2
War
seconds.
doesn't change, but people don't either.
War doesn't change, but people don't either.
Well, it's seemingly the NCR, the people descendant from Vault Dwellers, managed to destroy the Enclave. I think that's quite a big change. So that the Brotherhood of Steel, for just the remnant of the U.S. Army, decided to like go against these terrible experiences. If you read the logs from Fallout 1, they decided to like make a promise that they will never resort to these things ever again.
Yeah, and they went from very strict military organization in those games to like a religious order with
Yeah, that is so strange. I'm not accepting that.
with clerics and a bunch of like incense, and you're like, what the hell? Are they just trying to make fun of like conservative values? Like if you're religious and you're Christian or Orthodox, whatever, and they had like the incense and let's put that in the story. It's like, well, why? There's no reason to like. That has nothing to do with and branding people and all this weird shit. You're like, okay, this is getting creepy. It's like a cult. That was the joke in was it episode 4 or 5 with when Maximus goes to Lucy. Hey, this is a cult, Lucy. And it's like
Yeah, episode 6.
and he's like, hi, I'm part of the Brotherhood. It's like, yeah, you're part of a cult, you weirdo. So maybe he's trying to make some connection here that because war doesn't change, the actions of humanity don't. But I seem to remember we didn't have capitalism hundreds of years ago, or thousands of years ago, so I don't know how war wouldn't have changed if this war was caused by capitalism. So maybe he's got his understand or his logic mixed up there, or his history mixed up. Like I don't think the various Mesopotamian wars were caused by having 3 competing brands of olive oil or wine. And the 4th one was just like too much, so we have to like go take over the Persians or whatever. It's like, okay. Damn you, market forces! I gotta go to war with the Persians because there's too many options at the market square in Istanbul or whatever they're fighting over. Anyway, we're almost done. We are done.
Thank God.
Oh, God.
Ooh, we got a super chat.
Oh, why?
For torturing us.
Threadnought. Hey, Threadnought. I think I've decoded the hidden meaning of this video and the real horror fallout. Basically, this guy is the opposite of intelligent. I'm not going to say he's not intelligent. I just think he's very loosely connecting ideas.
Special.
And he's trying to make it funny. Like he's doing, obviously, like he saw a movie he liked. He played a game he liked. He like, wow. And then he watched the TV show. Wow. And he wants to, do the female thing of just connecting ideas because he can and talks about everything all at once. And there was no real meaning to be had with all these connections. So you get a mishmash of just, I think this, and it reminds me of that, and it reminds me of this. And you're like, okay. And trying to be too profound with how war happens and why capitalism, like the capitalism nonsense just came out of nowhere. There's no reason to have that. So, and I would say he just doesn't know what he's talking about. But he's not stupid. He has moments of stupidity. We all do. Oh, all right. I got to scroll up. Where am I in the memes? There we are. Okay. Let's see what we got. First off, are there memes?
Yeah, there are a few.
July 29th. Okay. Smud, 5 minutes of the video. I mean, why? Yeah, everyone's like that. Everyone was like, what's the point of this video for the first 7 minutes, I think? No opening statement, no hypothesis. Just, I like movie, I like game, I like TV show.
I like the last picture show. There's a scene in here that don't make me cry.
POV, you're about to be told the glories of communism and everyone has really bad eyesight. That was another thing I didn't like.
Because they are smart asses.
Oh, yeah. I really wanted, I don't know if you remember playing Fallout 2 and you watched the intro, the Dizzy Gillespie music, and they show the Vault Boy. And it's like, you gotta wear your goggles because you've been living in the vault. Your eyes are very sensitive. And they shows him without wearing his goggles. There's these giant holes in his face. It's smoking. That's what I wanted Lucy to do because, that was the thing. So at least give her the goggles. She has to wear them. Just give her, and then she realizes she doesn't need them or whatever. That would have been a nice nod, I thought.
Oh, 10 or 20 years before that, she saw the real sun with her mom.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
But I guess that was fine.
that. Yeah. Anything... Okay, Zoomers' comprehensive and intellectual critique of literally anything before their birth. I don't want to paint that broad brush, but every time we come across one of these YouTubers that do this, we're just like, did you talk to an adult in the past week about anything intellectual you were trying to prove, like argue? That would have been nice, because I'm sure your teachers would have helped you out. Zoomers looking for terms and slogans used incorrectly. Yeah, that's pretty much... That's all we got these days. People using buzzwords, trying to sound or look smart. And it's sad because it's about good video games or good video game franchises that deserve more understanding and intelligence. Especially at least the level of Tim Kaine and getting his comedy and understanding what he's trying to convey with all of his ideas. And I really, really wished they listened to him about the concept of the vaults being a staging or an experiment, not necessarily for human conditioning, but for what if we were encased in a giant spaceship to preserve humanity? How would that work out? Because that's one of the settings for Alpha Centauri, the video game. That what would happen if we did have this huge journey to a land of new frontier living to extend the human race? What would happen? How would we develop? What factions and what groups of thought would we develop? And it's pretty much the same ones we have here, just in very specific manners and in the context of colonizing or starting a new life elsewhere, which is fascinating to me. And that's why I love the premise of Alpha Centauri so much. Anyway, that was a pretty bad video, and I'm glad we covered it because my brain and Fallout need a jump start because I've been neglecting my video for the past few days. But I'll get back to it and fill it in.
Well, you can definitely do a lot better. We can make that statement for sure.
Yeah, half awake, half drunk. I could probably do. Yeah, maybe. I'll slur my words. I'll get some of the lore off, but at least I'll have my logic and my bad video. This guy has way better video editing skills than me, but I don't really consider that a...
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah. He was moving things around and fade ins and fade outs. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Whatever. Like Da Vinci, whatever he used, but, you know.
I think that was Adobe Premiere.
Oh, yeah. See, I used to use Premiere, and I never used any of the FX. I never used any of that stuff. I didn't care to.
But he seemingly didn't do that either because he had like 2 or 3 missing scenes. But I think like one of them had to be intentional because like he was doing that way too many times.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough for me today. I'm going to get some tea and relax and just enjoy what I have left of the day because I'm kind of tired from yesterday and just enjoying the weather, having a good time, talk to my family, see how they're doing, that sort of thing. So thank you, everyone. We are still planning the 800 special, just taking some time because of scheduling and life, but we are still having it. It'll get here. It'll come eventually. So,
it takes time.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Have yourself a great evening. Good night.